I'm listening to Bear Independent Book of Amos, chapter 1 and 2, in his commentary. And it's Wednesday, September 18th, 2024, documenting the journey. We got like a giant moon to the right, crossing Eufaula. The sun's coming up on the left. Like, for some reason, I reset my clock. He's connecting dots between the Old and the New Testament and bringing about commentary that is very enlightening. And we have on this side, you see the shine of the giant moon. It was real visible earlier. And then on this side, we got the sun coming up or whatever. We got the Love's truck stop with like a giant beating heart. I mean, long ago, I got baptized and anointed, and I was in a difficult place, and the church that I went to or whatever, in that, while I was there, I was just seeking God's name, and like His actual name, not like a job title and their position. You know, for me, I am that I am. It seemed like there was more to it, and I wanted to search that out. And so I'm driving right now. I'm hearing some of the stuff he says, and I find myself saying out loud, "That checks out. Like that's logical. That adds up. Like mathematically, yeah, that's probably very logically the determination I would come to if I was just being observant." Well, I was in that church or whatever, and at one point I had a vision, open vision, wide awake, in church. Part of it was Jesus asked me what I wanted, and I was just like, you know, I'm sitting there, it's Jesus, you know what I mean? So I'm just like, I just want to hang out with you. Like, I don't need stuff. And I find myself right now in this moment, completely set apart, like the sign of love. You know, God made light in the beginning, let there be light, and then He made the sun and the moon, which, in my opinion, is reflectors of Himself, right? So, like, the presence of God, like, just like, well, you know, human flesh cannot stand in front of it, right? So, think about what's going on with the sun and the moon. It's like that's reflectors of the Creator, right? That's a reflection of His presence. So, in my opinion, that's what I think it is. So I like got His presence surrounding and love in front of me, and I'm like, I really enjoy driving. So I'm like doing what I love. I just got 80 Bibles. I was able to give out 25 Bibles yesterday. You know what I mean? Like huge witnesses, like having complete sermons via Holy Ghost. This thing, like I was off duty for 26 minutes, talked to a guy, kind of looked at a mud flap, went inside the store, made some coffee, chopped it up a little bit with the dude. Fantastic reception of word given, you know, and I was able to be a part of that. And then I got to take care of some elders in the family, and then the process of that, got to witness again. And then the process of all of this, ran into an old friend or whatever, and then he found like a long lost family member, kinda, that the truck that like I grew up driving, like he ended up with it, and then another guy got it, and then another guy got it and parked it. He not only did he find the truck, but the dude's willing to sell it for like $200. It's just sitting there. They just parked it like 25, 30 years ago. They parked the truck and just like started driving something else, and just like, you know, it's just sitting there. It's a 1976 Chevrolet. You know what I mean? That thing is like a trophy to me. It's got so much backstory, it ain't funny. I literally taught my friends how to drive in that truck. We called it the battle wagon. And I jumped that truck even with the power lines skipping school one time. It's like, the truck has a lot. I may or may not have fathered my first child in the seat of that truck, as a matter of fact. The timeline checks out anyway. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm driving. Here's that look at that shine. Look at that shine of the moon. Right? And look at this over here. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm surrounded in his presence. Oh, I better show this too. I was listening to, this has got to be one of the best. This is possibly the best. If you're a mature Christian, this is probably the best video on the internet you can possibly watch. If you're like, feel like there's something more and you're not really sure what it is, like, he's got some concepts in here that the guy, he felt like he's being lied to, and then, like, the chicken shittery of you go to church and it's like a family, we all got our flaws and everything else like that, and there's forgiveness and all that kind of stuff, don't get me wrong, but some stuff is just like, the Bible even says, like, hey, the doctrines and stuff are messed up. Like, Jesus is like, you got to be more righteous than the scribes. Okay, so like the person that wrote the Bible down, you got to be more righteous than that guy, which sounds incredibly difficult to me. But in practice, when you actually break it down and walk through the steps, it's basically just being a good dude. So like, if you're good people, you're qualified. Like, if I good people, that standard, I qualify that in redneckery, both redneckery and gangster and jailer. Okay? All three will carry the same. Like, a good dude is a good dude. Like, you're a good dude, you're good people, or you're a piece of shit. Like, that's, it's like integrity and all that kind of stuff. And and we're all going to make mistakes, don't get me wrong. So nobody's perfect. So that keeps a humility about it. But like, when I run into Wade, I said, and then the elder showed up, and I said, this is the best mechanic I've ever known in my life. You know what I mean? And admit that. You know what I mean? And I told him, I said, he's good people. You know what I mean? But he's liable to drink a bottle of whiskey. You know what I mean? So you don't necessarily. He's a good dude, but he's also an alcoholic, right? So like, don't expect him to come pick you up and give you a ride at 10 o'clock at night because he's inebriated, right? Like, you got to know the parameters. But is he going to tell you the straight of it? Yeah, he will. Is he going to fix your vehicle and it's actually fixed? Yeah. Is he going to do it fast? Yeah, like, amazing. Does he have junk scattered everywhere? And is he like a greasy, dirty white boy? Yeah. And, like, if we were going to fight the Chinese or whatever, like, that's the dude you want fixing your tank. For sure. But, on like a reliability standpoint and everything else like that, do you want to build a business around this guy's mechanic ability? Probably not, if there's like a, strict timeline and all this kind of stuff. But if you're just going to like feed him projects and be like, hey, call me when you're done, go at your own pace, yeah, he'll definitely fix everything you bring to him. Especially the older stuff, which is the better stuff, in my estimation and opinion. And anyway, so I'm driving, listen to some old stuff, listen to this guy talk, and it's just so incredible to me right now. And the things that have happened, and for 2 days, my wife has been vexed by an evil spirit of lethargy and depression, you know, and she's been consumed with some of the wages of spiritual warfare, right? So when I'm out here kicking ass, the enemy's attacking her. Okay, so today, specifically today, by about 11:30, I'll be in the vicinity. Now that puts me 8 hours out from Laredo. I can't deliver this thing till tomorrow anyway. So I, being the stronger vessel, will stop, spend my afternoon at the house, lifting my wife's spirit and praying for her and doing the little nuance stuff, you know, the honeydew stuff, the ride with her to wherever, and, you know, I'm going to Holy Ghost it, you see what I'm saying, and let him, I'm going to go be the hands and feet of Jesus for my wife today, which is like, you know, I see the two coming together right here with the like sign of love. I had to document this. Like, I'm terribly forgetful, so I had to make this video to document this. And this is the victories. This is the power of love. This is the power of God in our lives. And like, I'm out here, you know what I mean? So I'm driving down the road. So like everybody else got off lockdown, but I did not. Right? And then when I see people, it's for a short time. And then like I aggressively wait, like filling my head with knowledge of how to be a better witness. You know what I mean? And that's, you know, reading the Bible, looking at business plans and everything. Even like listening to music and stuff like that. Everything in my head is askew towards how can I reach the lost? Because I was a roofer, right? And then it's like, how do I make this not leak? Because I grew up with a leak in my roof and I hated it. You know what I mean? It's like, there's two trailers put together, and like, where they come together, you know, he put it in everything, but it would leak, and there's some kind of piece of plastic or something in there. I don't know what the deal was, but it would pond the water, and at a certain point, the weight would be so much that it would kind of give out, so it would just whoosh like a waterfall. So like if my friends come over, they were sitting in the living room, we had a bucket to catch the water. And it's raining, so every now and then this thing could just whoosh. And it's like if you're walking through there, you didn't know what was going on, it just started raining. And it's like, you know, you hadn't got the bucket out yet. Like you would just like walk to the kitchen and you'd be walking through there, that thing would just dump right on your head, like randomly. So, you know, which is kind of funny now, I'm thinking back. Incredibly embarrassing when you're like 10. So like we'd be sitting there and everything, right? And then on top of that, like we smoked weed. So like you're sitting there burning one, and then it's just like whoosh out of nowhere. It's like, did that just happen? You know what I mean? And so that like brought a whole other dynamic to the situation. Anyway, I do not like water leaking into the house, and like I'm traumatized by it to a certain degree. So later on in life, I find myself on a roof working, and like, you know, I grew up poor, so I remember the first time we went and bought shingles, and I seen how much a truckload of shingles. The truck had it had 3 houses worth of shingles in it. So this was back when you would work all day long. I mean, 14 hours for a $100 bill was commonplace. And this truck shows up to this storm area. It's got 3 houses worth of shingles on it, and the price tag for the shingles is like $13,000. And I think at the time you could buy a decked out dually for $30,000 probably. And I'm just like looking at this, I'm like, wow. So if I rip 9 houses, that's just the material cost of this badass truck right here. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, you know, putting 2 and 2 together, and I'm like, we're roofing a house every day, and like the labor is probably about the same as the cost of material. That's generally the way they bid it. I've seen them do it. And then like, I put 2 and 2 together here, and I'm like, so if I work for a month, I could buy this dually truck right here. You know what I'm saying? And yeah. And then I figured out that they would rob you. Like you would roof the house, they would just leave with the money. So anyway, being out here in this truck, I'm set apart from talking to people. You know what I mean? And then what I'm choosing to allow is like bring this stuff in and use my skill, knowledge, and experience to be a better witness. You know what I mean? So like I'm on the roof and I'm like, I want these nails placed perfectly so they're hitting all the shingles underneath it in the right spot. And I want to stagger the shingles to make sure the nails line up where it doesn't leak. I want the nails to go in straight so it doesn't leak. It's got to seal up properly. It can't be crooked, and it's got to stagger, and you're going to have a 2-inch bleed on either side of where the shingles butt up. So you want a 5-inch gap, so how can I do this? How can I lay this one? And then now the next one's going to be proper as well. And then once I figure this out, I can just repeat it. And it turns out, as luck would have it, it says how to do that right on the package of the shingles, where it says installation instructions. And it has a picture. So I'm like, this is not difficult at all. And then I realized there's 7,000 shingles on one roof. So I'm like, okay, that's why nobody's doing this. Because I need to, start at 7 o'clock in the morning in the wee hours when it's cool. And it's going to be 4,000 degrees up here at 2 o'clock this afternoon. So I need to leave. So between 7 and 2, I need to nail 7,000 shingles on this roof or whatever. You know what I mean? We better get on it and stay at it. So that's a thing. And then I'm like, I had a guy ask me one time, he said, how long do you want this roof to last? And the number I came up with, this is honest to God, the number I came up with was 400 years. I figured if I could build a structure that could turn water successfully for 400 years, that's about what it would be worth for the price of what it costs to roof your house. I mean, think about roofing your house. I was down in Florida, some of those houses, it was $35,000 to roof your house. And it's probably double that now, with all the coats and stuff and tile and spray foams and all this. Yeah. You think a few hurricane straps while you're framing a house is a big deal. Look at the roofing codes for Florida. It's the strictest codes in the entire earth, or at least it was when I was there, in like 2006. Anyway, so want to myself higher standard. Being down there around the strict codes, higher standard. You know what I mean? And then the set apart. Like this step's over here, and then I'm over here. You know what I mean? There's people out here in the world doing stuff. Well, I'll get to talk to them. I'm in the truck. You know what I mean? And then if I'm in Oklahoma, I'm not in Texas. You know what I mean? Then if I'm in the United States, I'm not in the Middle East. You know what I mean? So I'm set apart from different things in different ways. And then the pressure, of life. Everybody's got that, right? So embrace that, you know what I mean? And use that. Do your reps and sets. And just take in everything from all angles. And like, how is God teaching me something in the moon? How is God teaching me something in the sun coming up? In the, the loves thing. Like everything's directing me. Like reading the signs of my life, the timing and everything else like that. I'm set up perfectly to drive, be there for my wife, get new hours, go and deliver on time. I stopped, and for $25, I was going to have to go to another place. It would have been maybe $600. I got the work done on the truck for $25 and a bottle of whiskey. And I made him rig up a deal where I could pay him and get a receipt. You know what I mean? Because we need that for our maintenance schedule and stuff like that. Like, by law, if you work on the truck, you're supposed to document that, right? So, I made him charge me $25, and I just he wanted a bottle of whiskey, a little one, or whatever like that. You know what I mean? And I just grabbed the one right next to it that was the same flavor or whatever like that, and just put it up there too, just paid for all. Didn't even look at what it cost. Didn't even care. It's not $400. You know what I mean? And then the dude's like, "Hey, I know where the battle wagon's at." I was like, "No shit." You know what I mean? So then, like, I'm telling my dad about this, like, and he was like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, it's just been sitting out there. It's just parked out there." I said, "It's probably a little rusty or whatever like that." And yeah. So I mean, it's just really amazing, you know, how hard things can be and how difficult, and then how blessed you can be and not see it. You know what I mean? Like, for real. Like, if I got a brand new, I mean, brand spanking new, a 2026, you know, decked out diesel, dually, blah blah, every bell and whistle, this, that, and the other, I would look at that thing and I'd be like, well, it's spying on me. You know what I mean? Like, I would find flaw in it. And I think about a 1976 Chevrolet Custom Deluxe. You know what I mean? Original 350, 3-speed on the column, the whole 9 yards. And yeah, like, that excites me. You know what I mean? Because, you know, that was the truck. I mean, that was, yeah, like, that was one of the first vehicles I ever was in a drag race. You know, and like, I cut wood, I hauled wood, I've done all kinds of stuff. You know, like, my parents didn't even know I had a key to it. And they went out of town, and like, I totally stole the truck. Anyway, all kinds of shenanigans. And, you know, mailbox baseball, all like, what's that movie where them kids are walking across the train tracks to go see a dead body or whatever? I was like that age. You know what I mean? And there was like the kids where I'm from, we're all like 11 miles from each other. You know what I mean? So like, you're not just going to walk to your buddy's house. Like, I rode a bicycle over to Billy's house one time, and dude, it was like 6 hours of pedaling. You know what I mean? And Billy's dad, they didn't drive. Like, they were bricklayers and stuff, but they didn't really, like, they got rides everywhere. Like, they weren't Amish or nothing, but they just didn't have a car in general, right? And Billy was like fantastic riding bike, motorcycle, and stuff like that, good mechanic, everything else. But I taught him how to drive in that truck. Now, granted, we were like 11. You know what I'm saying? But that's how much history this truck's got. I remember he went off the road and hit this deal about, we almost rolled it. And I was like, stop. He's like, no, it's okay. I was like, no, really, stop. And he pulled over, and I was like, the first thing we do, when you wreck, the rule number one, when you wreck Dad's truck, stop and get the grass out of the bumper so he don't know. That was really, yeah. Anyway, so like, when he said he knew where the battle wagon was, and I thought to myself, to pull up in Billy Stipe's yard, to pull up at my dad's yard, you know what I'm saying, to pull up over at my sister's house, in the battle wagon, just like the memories of that younger, innocent time. You know what I mean? It's not really the vehicle, it's the reminder. It's the refresher. So I'm standing there.
There's a speed trap ahead.
And Wade's trying to, he gets this little welder out. Because I just called Jimmy Dunn. You know, I'm like, hey, can you guys weld this mud flat? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I'll see you. I'll be up there. They're like, okay, we'll wait. Because they close at 5. I got there like 5:30, right? Anyway, so I get over there. And he pulls out a welder and everything. And then it doesn't have, we don't have the wire feed was empty. And so then he's got to get the other one out. And this thing is like a Bobcat generator welder thing. It's mobile, right? But it ain't got no gas in it. So he takes the gas tank off the motorcycle and he dumps that gas in there, and then it won't start. So he drives this 3-wheeled, it's like a Honda Goldwing turned into a 3-wheeler that he made himself. You know what I mean? And then he jump starts it and it still won't start, and he's spraying ether, and he cleans the fuel filter and puts it all back together to get this thing running, just to get it to fire up, you know what I mean? That way he can do the welding. So this dude works on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different things. Shop just a mess. But there's all kinds of stuff there. All kinds of stuff. There's like an old Oklahoma flag in the corner with cobwebs and grease on it. It's just like the most Oklahoma thing ever. And I'm talking to this dude or whatever like that. And the whole time I'm thinking, I know this guy from somewhere or whatever. And I said, yeah, my dad was with old Jimmy Dunn or whatever like that or whatever. He's like, oh yeah. And he stops for a second and he looks at me. And I said, you wouldn't have to know any of them D-graphs, would you? He looked at me. I was like, what's your name? And he said some other name. And I'm like, you're Wade Stanglin. And he was like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Did he recognize me? Give me a hug and everything. And yeah, just wild times, and so the Lord built me up. I just got the Bibles, you know what I mean? Then later I went, had this awesome witness, and, this waitress, high school age, and her name was a Bible name from one of the books of the Bible, and I was able to give her commentary she's never heard before about her name. You know what I mean? And what it really meant. Some different angles that she was unaware of. And I'm like, the Bible's full of all kinds of stuff like this. And she was like, on the one hand entertained, a little bit dazzled, and then just kind of wild. And it was Holy Ghost. And anyway, when I was like, yeah, I'll give out Bibles, if you want Bible or whatever. I'm like, how many? I was like, you can influence these kids. I said, these kids that are at the school that are, they don't know nothing, and they're in extreme danger. You know what I mean? And if you made it cool to read the Bible, like, how many of you and your friends can sit around and read the Bible? How cool would that be? And I pointed out, you're working for God and all this kind of stuff. And I ended up giving her a dozen Bibles. I'm like, 11. I gave her 11 Bibles because we was walking over there. So the elder, my uncle, has amputated feet. And we walked from that restaurant back over to the semi, got the Bibles, and walked them back over there. So, good job. You know what I mean? Like, are you getting your steps in? Well, he's walking without feet. So, I mean, what's your excuse? Anyway, I don't know who that's for, but get on the stick. Anyway, I'm gonna get off here. Yeah, I make these things too long. Oh, I think my deal said 90 days. Apparently, I pissed off somebody at the World Health Organization. I found an email. So I was watching a deal about your YouTube channel, and I found an email, and I pissed off the WHO. I thought that was a band. I was like, who's band? So who's who? I don't know. Anyway, apparently, like, they don't like the old DNA talk. So if you know, you know. If you don't know, well, you're gonna have to come find me so I can explain it in person, because yeah, I'm trying to be able to post this. And the other thing is, the nail that sticks out gets hammered. So if I modify my behavior and to where I'm not sticking out, then I should be able to easily make it through any type of upcoming shenanigans. I don't know what I should say here. I know this. I watched a deal about people living in other places that are communist, and I looked at what they were doing and everything else like that, and I looked at my life, and I come to the conclusion that they just don't talk shit on the internet. That was like the main difference. And then like some real strict areas, they're like they have to worship the leaders. You know what I mean? And so like, you know, influential person shows up, you gotta act like Elvis is in town or whatever. You know, all the girls cry and piss themselves because Elvis is in town or whatever. I don't know that I'm in a situation where I would need to, you know, worship the leader of the, you know, communism. I don't foresee a way of them making me do that. Because I'll just be like, cut my head off, I guess. I ain't gonna do that. You know, I'll worship God. You know, we're going full Daniel in the lion's den on this deal. You know, Jesus take the wheel. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, the whole Holy Ghost in a bucket catch my head, I guess. Because yeah. Anyway, that's a real good deal. I was watching with old Bear Independent. You need to get on his Bible deal. It's been really amazing watching that old boy grow from like where he was to where he's at. You know what I mean? And I literally started watching that channel, you know, for the things I was just talking about. Because when I see that, and I see how he was talking and everything, I was like, okay, I should keep an eye on this old boy, because the way he's talking, like, they'll kill him first. You know, I was like, I mean, for real, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, okay, so if they're going to cut the heads off of Christians, like, who's cutting through the bullshit and actually saying the truth? You know what I mean? Because, like, the devil's got all these liars and stuff like that, you know? So, I mean, he'll lift up somebody that's, you know, lulling you to sleep where you wind up in hell. That's kind of the devil's MO, right? So, like, if somebody's just straight up, you know, saying what it says, because most people don't read. It's incredible the amount of people that do not study the Bible and think that they know. Like, the worst thing you can do is think you know something and be wrong, because it's so hard to convince people that they're wrong, because everybody's got this I know something you don't know deal going on. And then, like, you get a bunch of them together, and then, like, everybody's, you know, doing stuff or whatever. You know, I just passed a sign that says, let him who is without sin cast the first stone. You know, even that's a misquote. Like, they didn't fulfill the law. They're supposed to break the guy and the chick. You know what I mean? Like, if he would have agreed to the stoning, then that would have been sinful, because, like, they deserve a trial. You know what I mean? Like, you got to bring both of them to the proper administration where they can be like, okay, here's what the law says, no adultery, and you were caught doing it, you got anything to say for yourself? Okay, and then you see them getting it on, and you see them getting it on, and y'all caught them. So you two see them getting it on, went and told these people, they showed up, they see them getting on, and you're married to Bubba, and you're married to Sally, and y'all ain't Bubba and Sally, so you were in adultery. And the penalty for that is make it so. You know what I mean? That's the way it goes. You can't just, like, have a mob show up and be like, this guy's a jackass, we should kill him. And then Jesus be like, well, you know, well, I guess half-assed is good enough. No, half-assed is not good enough. If there's anything that you need to know from the story of the woman where Jesus said, you know, let him who is without sin cast the first stone, that whole story, go back and read that again and come away with the theme of half-ass ain't good enough. You can't half-ass the law. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how you gonna kill somebody without trial? You know what I'm saying? Just that. Nothing else. Just that. You know what I'm saying? So, like, oh, look at his forgiveness of sin and all this other kind of stuff like that and everything. Well, it was completely lawful. You know what I what I mean? And people are ignorant of that. So you'll watch these things, and they'll bring it back to this emotional, and just detached from logic completely. The emotional and the spiritual side of things is enormous, and your due diligence includes the ponderings of such. But that doesn't negate the law. That does not negate the law. Nay, I say unto thee, does it negate the law. It does not pit it in. There is no trapping it and separating it. It will stand forever. And like, so does God's emotions as well. You know what I mean? So, yeah, does he love you? Yeah. Well, you know, like, mess with a bear's cub and see how the mama bear reacts. You know what I mean? Like, just go out to your neighbor's house that has chickens that just hatched some chicks, and go out there and mess with that hen and see how that chicken reacts. You know what I'm saying? Like, how's God going to react when you're messing with his kids? And then in his mercy, like, he made a way, you know what I mean? Because we're not chickens, we're worth a lot more. His eyes on the sparrow, he watches over me, and all that. But, dude, the law's the law. Like, you know, here's gravity, you know what I mean? I'm going to drop my stocking rag in the trash. You know what I mean? I got the air conditioner blowing on me all the time. So, for me, it's been winter for 7 years. Like, oh, you have an illness. Like, no. It's 58 degrees at the truck because I ain't sweating. Due to my job location, I don't get to take a shower every day, so I just sit here and sweat. It would be foul. Anyway. God is so good to us. And to think for half a second, for even half a second, like, I just, to think for half a second that he would spend all that time writing, these are precepts that will last forever, and then somebody that doesn't understand what they're reading comes up with this whole, you know, crazed, off in left field deal, and then like everybody around them don't know. You know what I'm saying? And it just spreads like a disease. It's like a disease of dumb shit. You know, and then you'll see the people that realizes that, and a lot of them are really tired of contending with the people. So that's where you get this, you know, judgmental stuff. And then they'll be like, oh, you're being legalistic, and then you're being judgmental, and you're saying it's works-based. And it's like, every one of those people decide which shoe to put on which foot, which is judgmental. Most of those people have a job, which is working to get a check. You know what I mean? And every one of them will get a speeding ticket if they're driving 100 in a 55, which is legalistic. So, to say legalistic and works-based theology and, I mean, a whole bunch of stuff, it is just absolutely ridiculous. It is just a ridiculous argument. You know what I mean? Like, they don't break stuff down to actually look at what it is. You know what I mean? Like, if you say water, you know, I'm going to be like ice, clouds, ocean, fresh. What do we got going on here? There's a lot of nuance. And they're like, well, it's H2O. Because I know something you don't know. I'm like, okay, so you were talking about breaking down to the elements. Okay, so I'm going to throw that at you right now. So break it down to the elements. You know what I mean? Look at what Jesus is saying. Look at what Paul's saying, man. You know what I mean? This dude's up against the Pharisees. He was a Pharisee. He knew all this extra nonsense. Then he goes, you know what I mean? Meets up with Jesus. Jesus is like, why'd you kick me in the nuts, bro? You you know, and then he goes over here and gets saved or whatever like that. He goes and spends years studying with Gamaliel, and this dude is like, you know, because in the book it's like one sentence, everybody just misses it. They think that this dude seen the light, blinked twice, got healed. A couple days later, talked to Peter. He says, Peter, what must I do to be saved? And Peter says, repent of your sins and be baptized. You know, I'm guessing if somebody struck me blind, you know, if Jesus showed up right now, I just pull over to the side of the road, Jesus strikes me blind, takes 3 days to get my sight back, I'm going to be like, sorry about that. Please forgive me. For days. I mean, straight out the gate. That would be my go-to. Forgive me, God. Please have mercy on me. You know what I mean? Because I'm asking him, like, and it's God right there, like, that's prayer. That's like the sinner's prayer. I have sinned against thee, Most High. Please forgive me. Right? But with a disciple that walked in the discipline of the way of Jesus, he was a follower of the way. He was a disciple. His discipline, his fighting strategy, his discipline was the way of Yeshua. Right? He was a follower of the way. Spiritual warfare. Right? So with this dude, pretty sure Jesus says to Peter, I will build my church with this as the cornerstone. And he's talking to Peter when he's talking about it. Okay, so this dude, you know, unless you know, if you know Jesus better than Peter from the Bible, I'm just going to say this. Paul asked Peter, what must I do to be saved? He didn't know. He didn't know. Peter did. That's enormous detail. So what did he say? He said, repent. Well, what is repent? Like, I'm doing stuff my way, and the Bible says to do stuff God's way. And God's God, and I'm just a man. So I change my mind and do what he says. Pretty basic. I don't know how everybody misses that. Well, I do know how, because later, in this great philosophical way of talking, because he was a Pharisee, Paul, Shaul of Tarsus, if you want to get all technical, because this dude is like really doctorate level in the Judaism, and a Pharisee, which the Sadducees didn't believe in resurrection and the Pharisees did, but they both added rules and regulations. That way they would have power over the people, which is what all governments do. And when you do that and say God said so, that's a religion. And if you give what you're looking up to worship, that also makes it a religion. Like some people worship science, right? They're like, follow the science, believe the science, whatever like that. Recently was a thing. That's a religion. That's a cult. You know, the science cult. And Jesus spoke out against religions, why they killed him, right? Because he's like, all religions, bullshit. And it really is. It really is. And that's why people say you can't earn your way to God. You know what I mean? And which is true, but that doesn't mean because I can't earn my salvation, because I can't, that doesn't mean that there's not rules and regulations for how to operate in the earth that God said, do this. In this situation right here, do this. You know what I mean? So when I see this situation, I'm just going to be like, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to try to. It even says in the New Testament, be imitators of God. Well, how am I going to imitate God? I'm going to have a lot of order in my life. You know what I mean? I'm going to say what I mean and mean what I say and do what I said I was going to do in a timely manner with integrity and all this other kind of stuff. So in that moment that I'm just like showing up for work on time, that is me worshiping God. Did I want to get up and go to work today? No. But I did. And that is a form of worshiping God. Now, if I'm doing that to enhance and lift up the creator of the universe, and that's where my heart and mind is, now it's a lot different than I'm trying to, take some freight from here to yonder to get a check to pay for a house that is not going to last 400 years. You know what I mean? And if in this process, you know what I mean, I get 80 Bibles and give away 25 in one day, am I earning my salvation? No, but I'm helping these other people get saved. If your dog got loose and he's out in the middle of the street and I blocked traffic with this semi, caught your dog, fed him some biscuits and stuff, and then went all Sherlock Holmes and figured out who you are and gave you your dog back, you would have gratitude, be like, thank you. Without you, my dog would have got run over or whatever. You know what I mean? Well, if I do all that and bring back your beloved dog and he's not splattered on the highway, well, by God, that's good. You know what I'm saying? But still, I was just driving down the road taking freight from A to B. That's what I was actually doing. That was my job. You know what I mean? I just seen opportunity and capitalized on the goodness, because good begets good, and that is honoring God. That is worshiping God. That is me doing God's will in the earth. Does that earn salvation? No. Does that earn a reward? Yes. Yes, it does. You got your dog back. That's the reward. Like, you got your dog back. Your dog is not dead. So how much the more if I give somebody a Bible and I'm like, read this and talk to God like a normal person. Just pretend God is right there and talk to him just like you would talk to anybody else. And he already knows everything, so you can be honest, right? And in that moment, this person gets this freedom because they can just sit and talk. Like right now, I'm just talking to myself. Yeah, I got the button pushed, so this is recording, but I'm just talking to myself. I just visualize Jesus. You have your vision board. So like, I'm bored. I just visualize Jesus. So that's my vision board that I'm writing with the Creator. And I just talk to him, and he already knows everything. And I'm like, it's bullshit. Or I'm like, I really appreciate that. Or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, he made emotions. He made the people. Okay? Now, I just get so wrapped up in this deal, you know what I mean? That here I've been talking for 48 minutes, driving down the road, you know what I'm saying? Having a good time. We're having fun. You know what I'm saying? So my life is better. My life is better than driving down the road right now, just being like, oh, this is terrible, or whatever. Woe is me, this and that, blah, blah. Cry me a river. Anyway, I think that's about enough of it for now. Read the Word, let the Word be your teacher. Read the Word and let your Word be your teacher. And right now, I'm set apart. I'm by myself, like I am set apart. Okay? So when the angels in heaven are around the throne, they sing, holy, holy, holy. God is holy. God is set apart from that, and set apart from that. He is the most high, the top of the chain, the head of authority. He created everything. The angels don't say God is love, love, love. The angels don't say God is, jealous, jealous, jealous. You know what I mean? So like on a superficial level, You know what I mean? We all got all these emotions and stuff like that, but we strive to be holy. And if we put our heart into that, we're going to find out what he likes. We're going to do it the way he said to do it. And we're going to like try to bring his dog back. You know, well, where's my dogs at? You know what I mean? Anyway, I want to close with this. My sermon. I'll close with this. If you'll think about the worst thing you've ever done, or a compilation of the tragic horror of your life and the things that you've done, how much of that was learned traits from other people that were in horrific conditions? You know, and without being like some kind of scapegoat deal, let's just say the buck stops here. And regardless of what happened to me, I know what I did. So I take full responsibility for that. And I picture that right now. And then I think about that movie, Passion of the Christ. Was that enough to pay for that? I don't know what you've done. I don't know what you've done. But there is not a more violent way to die than what Jesus did for you. And I guarantee you it is enough to pay that debt. Okay? Now, I bought these snot rags. And I blowed my snot. And I'm going to cast it away from me. Into the garbage. Well, into the floor. Into the trash bag. And I'll put that trash bag in a container. And that container will go to the dump. Gehenna, if you will. But I ain't gonna think about it no more. When I purchased the napkins from the store, it became mine. When I purged my snot and threw it away, I kept my goodness. But I got rid of that snot. I got rid of it. I cast it away. Okay? So your sin was paid for. It's not yours no more. You don't get to carry that. That's bullshit. You know what I mean? The store I bought them snot rags from, I bought this right here at the store. They have no right to take that from me. It's mine. I can use it how I want. Okay? So I gave my life to the Creator. It's not mine. It's not mine. He can do with me whatever he wants. I chose that. I choose to respect him by getting rid of my sin. That's why I blow my nose, right? Okay, well, Jesus died and fulfilled the law of atonement. Go look it up. Go look it up because it adds up. The math is there. And legally, now God can forgive you. That's what happened. That's what really happened. Like, that's the difference between the Judaism and the schism of the 57 corporate divisions of Christianity. You know what I mean? What do they call it? Denomination. It's just ridiculous. He nailed the dogmas to the cross. Not the law. It was all that extra BS. Paul was a very sophisticated writer, but he made run-on sentences with no punctuation, so it's easily confusable. When you look at this deal, you'll realize that Jesus died for it. I take my sin and I lay it at the cross. It's not mine. I don't get to pick that back up and beat myself up about my mistakes. It's his. He paid for it. He paid a very high price. Hey, you know what I'm saying? And then my life was crap. And I'm like, Jesus, take the wheel. He did. So now I walk in righteousness. Well, I'm in bondage. I'm a slave. But if you go back to the beginning of this video, that's what being a slave of righteousness is. Like, I got, 2 cases of Bibles right here. I got my stock rack or whatever. Got a place laid down. I'm driving down the road. I'm talking on a device. You know what I'm saying? Seen some friends yesterday. Got to witness, be the hands and feet, feel that goodness. The light of my life is reflecting love, telling me to go into my wife and be a blessing to her today. The schedule lines up, all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like for me to even have that footage on the film, on this film, for me to even have that footage. Like YouTube took down 472 videos. One of the videos, it was my birthday, and I was driving or whatever, and I'm just filming the mountain or whatever like that. And like right when I start the thing, like I'm singing Jesus music or whatever like that, back in, you wouldn't get a strike for that. I don't know when that changes. I don't keep up with that stuff. But anyway, nowadays, like a picture of a hippopotamus gets you in trouble. Anyway, it said I love you, and it was on my birthday. You know what I mean? And I was alone and lonely and everything else like that. I go back and watch that a year later, and I see that video that was talking about that and everything like that. I seen my good days. I seen my bad days. I seen miraculous. I seen the things of creation. I seen this walk of life. You know what I mean? Now here I'm gonna point something else out that does not get near enough attention. If Jesus is living inside of me, he's enjoying life right now in the earth. Like if the Holy Ghost is inside of me or whatever like that, and I have God in me, that God is vicariously living, yet literally living in me. You see what I'm saying? Like I'm not God, but he's in here. Some kind of way, not sure. But he comes out. And I get to see that, I get to hear that, I get to feel that, I get to experience that. And wow. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, sign me up for that. Sign me up for that. And then what's going to happen because of that? What's going to happen because of that? Oh, they're going to get you. Ooh, they're going to get you. Ooh, they're going to get you. Ooh, you can't go to the store. Oh, what are you going to do? You can't go to the store. You better go hide in the woods. Ooh, build a freaking, a cabin. You better know how to make an axe handle out of a stick. The drones are coming. Oh, Terminator. Oh, what do we do? Get a shotgun. Can I key up the mic to a CB radio and drop the drones out of the sky and nobody's phone works? I think that's why they got rid of the Dukes of Hazzard. Anyway. Hay. Bales of hay. I see this, they started wrapping them in plastic for some reason. And somebody said something about the marshmallow field. He's like, no, man, about 3 miles. Turn right at the marshmallow field. All right. One time we was helping an elder move, and the U-Haul messed up or whatever. They're like, drive down there, turn. You'll see Buc-ee's with his thing in the air. Turn right, go 2 streets, turn left, and it'll be right there. You get it fixed. So I walk out and I said, well, we got to go down here. You see Buc-ee with his thing in the air. And they're like, what? That's the way it is. We drove down and sure enough, there's a Buc-ee sign and his hat was sticking up. I was like, wow. The guy's like, oh, you can't miss it. You can't miss it, Of course, my wife and the other people or whatever, they went and double checked, right? So they got the same story. It's like, okay, we're looking for Buc-ee with his thing in the air. Of course, now a lot of people understand what Buc-ee's is. We didn't have any idea. This is one of the originals. We were down in Texas, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, God will make a way. He's living inside of you. So, like, if God's living inside of me, and Jesus kept the law, and then, like, God's law is his opinion of how to act in a certain situation. If I lined up with that, and I got him living inside of me, I'm going to have a fantastic day. You know what I'm saying? Like, my life will be epic. You know what I'm saying? There will be times of every emotion to the utmost. For sure. You know what I'm saying? And like, I don't know what the deal is with me, but if I drive real fast and, you know, narrowly make it through the pass or whatever, or drive on the ice or just whatever. I mean, there's a lot of different things. Ride a motorcycle, whatever. I enjoy that. You know, I equate it to like, you know, skydiving or something like that. You know, I used to ride a bicycle off a bridge into the water, like just trying to see how many times I could do a flip before I hit the water. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Anyway, how much the more do we need to realize God's living inside of us, and we should like go and do in the earth? You know what I mean? Be Jesus tour guide. Like, take the Holy Ghost out there and do stuff. You know what I mean? Like, for real. You know what I mean? Like, if me and all my family have the Holy Ghost, and then we go camping for 10 days, and like we have this family adventure, and like that's, you know, 12 people for 10 days camping, just, you know, tabernacle this deal on the right day where he said to show up or whatever, and then like, why would he not show out when we show up? He's in us. Like, for him to show up, you know, 2 or more gathered in his name. Well, we're gathering in his name, but we're bringing his Holy Spirit in our carcass. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're these little light of the world batteries going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, it's fantastic. It's fan-freaking-tastic. It is so amazing. It is so good. And in that moment, like, it's like when you see the elder, like I see this elder at a revival, and, you know, she's some kind of eye doctor or whatever, and she talked about the current state of perversion in the earth, especially in the United States, and how it's not like that in other places or whatever. And she brought that up so eloquently and said, don't do that. It dismissed it. It just went right on about what she was talking about, because the goodness outweighed the evil. We, as a Christian nation, are dwelling on what's wrong instead of dwelling on what's right. And what you look at magnifies. You know, it's like that moth going to the light. You know what I mean? If I stare at, you know, my bills, and I stare at my depression, and I stare at my this and my that, it's going to expand. You know what I mean? Like, take a fast from looking at your problems. Like, seriously, like, for 7 days, do not look at your problems. Like, if you find a problem popping up, just be like, Jesus, take that. And sing a song to God or whatever. Count your blessings. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? And just do that for like 7 days. You know what I'm saying? Seriously. I mean, like, if you're homeless and don't have food, you know what I mean? It's like, well, thank you, Lord, that I get to fast today and be in your great creation. You know what I'm saying? And go help somebody else do something. That's the other side of it. Fast. I'm going to fast for my problems. And not only that, but I'm going to be the hands and feet in Jesus and go on an adventure to save the kinfolk. You know what I'm saying? Like, da-da-da-da. Super Holy Ghost. Here I come to save the day. I'll cheer you up along the way, or whatever. You know what I mean? Sing a song about it. You know what I mean? Just sit there and plot. Just like think about it. You know? I remember my son before he died. He was just sitting there. He's 3 years old. He's just sitting there like this. And what we would do, we was broke. You know what I mean? So I was a roofer. It was cold, whatever. Anyway, I would walk with him all the way to Walmart. Walmart in town, probably about 2 miles round trip. So I'd hold his hand while he's riding his little bicycle or whatever, or we'd just walk, whatever. And we'd go down there to Walmart, and we would just play with every toy we could in the whole, you know, Walmart or whatever. And then I would buy one Hot Wheel, you know, because back then they were just $1. You know what I mean? You could scrape up $1 once a week, whatever. You know what I mean? And sometimes we go 2 or 3 times. And then we didn't go to Walmart, we'd go to the park, you know what I mean? Because it's just right on the block, you know what I mean? So walk over there, let him slide or whatever. You know, he's a cool little dude, real cool. And we did push-ups and stuff together. Anyway, so he's sitting there one day and he's just like this. He's just thinking. I said, hey, Dylan, what are you thinking about? He goes, thinking about Walmart. You know what I mean? And it was just so cool the way he said that. It was so cool. I'll never forget that. You know what I mean? And then when I think of the tragedy of losing that boy, when them doctors killed him, I didn't know enough to pray. I didn't know enough to pray. And I'm just like, I will never be in that position again. I refuse. You know what I mean? And I look at the motivation of my Bible study is because he is there with Jesus. 100%. Or we're all just taking a dirt nap and it don't matter. There's no in between. I read the Bible and it's like I see, you know, like God lost his son. Like I understand that. That ain't nothing to sneeze at. I mean, that's a big deal. And when you get into some of these other things and everything, and you realize that Jesus came, he volunteered. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like that. You know what I mean? But to understand that loss, and then I think that's how I understand such a great joy. At one point in my life, I had some complications and died, and I was out for, I don't know, 7 or 8 minutes at that time. And I was in the hospital, then next thing I know, I'm at the house. You know what I mean? And apparently that was like a week later. But I just remember waking up, and I didn't know where I was at. I looked over, see my first wife, I'm like, well, this is going good. And then I just got out of bed, went, you know, got something to drink or whatever like that. And, you know, she wakes up and everything like that. And I'm like, how's it going? You know, I'm just like trying to be nice. I'm like, I don't know. I don't recognize this house, nothing. I don't know my wife's name. I don't know my name. She starts crying, oh, I gotta tell you every day, blah, 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 you died, whatever, this and that, you know what I mean? And I'm like, cool, you know, it's gonna be all right. You know, I try to comfort her or whatever. I'm like, you know, make you a sandwich or something, you know. She had to go to work. Anyway, she takes off and goes to work. So I make me a sandwich. And then I'm sitting there, I look out the front, and I see this guy, and I just hear him making a sandwich. So I go in there, and I made the best sandwich I've ever made in my life. I made bologna and cheese and lettuce, tomato, onion, you know what I mean, on the bread, and just like, I just knew I was supposed to make the best sandwich I could. I go where I start talking to this dude, wherever, give him a sandwich and everything. We chop it up a little bit, and then talking, and I see this other old boy, and I hear him go talk to him, and I'm like, I don't know what to say. And then I remembered hands and feet, and I'm like, you be the words, and I just took off. Well, I get over there, I start talking to this guy, and all this, it was like, it just started coming out. I was just talking, and just blowed the socks off this guy. You know, he's amazed. I go on about my business, or whatever. I'm like, wow, what was that? You know what I mean? It's kind of scary. And then since then, you know, I've got a lot of memories back, and a lot of stuff will trigger memories. You know, and as I healed up from my brain damage, so the Dane damage got me. Anyway, luckily I had lived my life for decades at that point, you know, drunk and high on marijuana. So to not remember what's going on and just wing it was, you know, a natural. So anyway, later on I'm reading Ezekiel, and exactly what I told that guy was right there. I mean, there was a comma where I paused the whole 9 yards. And I was just, then it really scared me. I was like, wow, you know what I mean? And being able to do that is uncontrollable. Like, I understand that God is God in so many different ways that people don't acknowledge. Okay, like if you think about it, you'll know and you'll recognize it instantly. Like God is God. But if you don't sit there and contemplate all these different things about what it means to have God living inside it, you know what I mean? Like there's why is there not? Well, because of Satan. But why is there not like dedicated? God is living inside of me, and here's the evidence, and here's what it's like, and this is this, and that's that, and you know, in this situation, this happened, blah blah, this that, whatever. You know what I mean? And be genuine and keep it real. You know, because you'll see a lot of this hokey stuff that'll come across and get dismissed, and they're like, oh, they're crazy and everything else like that. What if they're not crazy? What if that really happened? What if you compared their testimony to the Bible and what's going on in the Bible? You know what I mean? And then, like, I see this lady that, on a documentary where she had interviewed all these people that had alien encounters. Okay, and she was just like a normal person or whatever like that. And then she got into being a psychologist or whatever. You know, did all the books and studies and stuff. And then wound up counseling these people that said they got abducted by aliens. Okay, so she had talked to 60, I don't know the number, but, you know, dozens of victims of alien abduction. And she'd like hypnotize them or whatever and talk to them while they was asleep or whatever. They'd say what happened. Or, you know, something along those lines. And then these people go over there, they're like all interested. They're like, well, what about this? What about that? They talk for like an hour. And in that talk, they bust out the Bible about where Paul and them's in the jail. And the angel shows up and the things fall off and like walking through the wall and all this stuff. And yeah, that was a big deal. Anyway, I got to get off here. It's time to hop off. All right, Rock Hill. And we're back. Okay, so I feel very relieved if you're tracking. Wow. When I say I live my life at 70 miles an hour, I mean it. Okay, so
in a quarter mile, turn left onto Redbud Lane.
There's a lot of this stuff that's hidden for people, and they just don't think about it or whatever like that. But the concept of God with us, you know, Emmanuel and all this kind of stuff, and the distraction. Just remember this, like I just seen a little Debbie truck. I just seen a 40.
At the light, turn left onto Redbud Lane. Then your destination will be on the right.
You know, are trying to kill us. Like, that's one of the things the enemy will do. You know, in his grand attempt of delusion and illusion, you know, City of Angels. Little Debbie's look good and they taste great, but they will kill you. You know what I mean? That spiking your insulin and stuff like that. I mean, it can really get you, but it takes a long time. It takes a long, long time. You know what I mean? So if you know that, you eat it. You know, that's borderline suicide. You know what I mean? Because who knows about the timeline? It kind of depends on how you look at it, type of deal. You know, a gun's real quick, but a cigarette.
Your destination is on the right.
It's always Little Debbie, you know what I mean? So, it kind of depends on how you look at it, type of deal. Anyway, if you'll look, go back to the beginning and just go through Genesis. You know what I mean? And take your family on that journey. Do it like of an even deal. Pick one day of the week. You know what I mean? Like, when I was a kid, these TV shows would come on, And for about a week, they would have some kind of like mini series, or there'd just be like a series, you know, whatever it is. Married with Children was a thing back then, with Al Bundy and all that. So, with thinking about that, I gotta back this truck in. Take me a shower, my God. Oh, that did not work out the way I planned. Okay. An ode to joy. Ode the joy of trying to back into a parking spot in a tight parking lot. Oh, are we going to one-shot this deal? Dang, that guy's even parked over the line. We're going to get out and do this. This is some Holy Ghost right here. This is some Holy Ghost right here. We just one-shotted this thing. No pull-ups. We just hold it. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you something. Now, when God's got your back, He's going to do miraculous things. You're going to have such a testimony that ain't funny. I'll fix to show you some testimony, because this is kind of a messed up situation here, and I just one-shotted this thing, and I almost always have to pull up at least once. And this guy, like, not only is this a tight spot, but yeah, I'm going to show you. Okay, and the other thing I was talking about is, like, Jesus, take the wheel. Okay. Okay, so you see the line. Boom. Now look at this. Now look at this. Look at that. That guy thought I was taking a picture of him. Let's go back here. Let's go back here. So we got going. We're down here in Atoka, Oklahoma. Oh, looky there. See that? See that? Didn't touch the curb. Look at that one over there. Didn't touch the curb. One shot at it. One shot. That's professional driving right there. We're going to give the Holy Ghost all the credit for that. So this is what it's like. This is what it's like to be surrounded by the Lord. A cloud of great witnesses. You know, we think about God's all big, but then, like, He did us together in the womb. So what about the real little? What if all His goodness? What if the host of heaven? Okay, so heaven, part of that's the atmosphere, right? And as we can see the fog, you know what I'm saying? There's the reflector up there reflecting God. But look at this fog. Like, I can feel it in my breath. I can feel it on my skin. You know what I mean? It's like moisture or whatever like that. It's just very soothing out here right now. It's pretty cool. It's very cool. Like, literally, it's probably 65, 70, right? We are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses. One of my recents, you'll love this. Look at that. I bet that whoever lives in that house is so mad that these rattling trucks are out here all night and day. I don't know if you can hear it in the background or not, but yeah, diesel trucks are loud. Anyway, so I'll tell them, I'll say, what do you take with you when you die? Generally, they say nothing. And I say, you take your soul and a record of everything you ever said and did. So, if you repent and get baptized and everything, Jesus fulfilled the law of atonement, so your sin is cast as far as the east is from the west. So on Judgment Day, you're in the line for reward because you never done nothing wrong, and then the others are in the line to go to hell because they got to pay the wage of sin themselves. They didn't take the opportunity to get right, so they're paying the price themselves, and that's bad. Okay, but because you're saved through the blood of Jesus, and you repented, kept the law and all that kind of stuff, got baptized. Anyway, I'll tell them, I'll say, on that day, it's like the Olympic awards, and you're getting a gold medal or whatever. And they'll read this deal off of everything you ever said, every idle word, right? And everything you ever did. But they're going to skip over all these parts of sin. Somewhere in this deal, you're going to be like, okay, this is everything I ever did, but they forgot this, they forgot that. It'd probably be like, oh, wow. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to be extremely grateful. You know how, like, if you're in trouble and you know it, and then like you get called to the office type of deal, and you're all nervous, like, what did I do? And then it's like something good. They're like, okay, yeah, they don't know about this bad stuff. I figured there'll be some kind of feeling like that. You'll get your crown of righteousness, and you'll throw that at the feet of Jesus on the way out the door, because, between you and Jesus, it's just like, hey, I know I don't deserve this. Without you, I'd be in that line over there. And you just toss your crown at the feet of Jesus, right? So that's kind of that's one of the stories I tell. And then I'll be like, yes, I'll say from right now until Jesus comes back, right? Until that day, until Judgment Day. From now until Judgment Day, you have free will. You know what I mean? You have self-control. So you control what the angels are going to say. Like, they're going to say whatever you did and said. So you're in full control of that. So on that day, when you're at the podium, what do you want them to say? Do that. Do that. Do that. Like, ponder that. You know what I'm saying? And then another one is, well, generally I say that, then I follow it up with the thing about cast your crown at the feet of Jesus. But an even more recent one is, I'll say, listen to whatever, and then be like, well, imagine with me, if you will, you wake up tomorrow and it's a perfect world. What does that look like? I just let them talk. What does that look like? What does a perfect world look like? You know what I mean? And, generally, the answers to that are pretty amazing. But it's just the concept. It's the concept. Giving them hope. You know what I mean? Like, what does that even look like? Like, you're so worried about this and so worried about that. Bills and money and hurry and do and go and yada yada. You know what I'm saying? Like, have you stopped to smell the roses? Probably not. Probably not. So in that moment, you have to seek out the love, the beat in the heart of Jesus. It's a sign. Anyway. Oh man, I forgot that Lowe's is even over there actually. Well, we're going to shut her down. It's probably going to be 90 days before I can post this on my channel, so I'll start making I'll say what time it is or whatever. I'll probably run out of space too. I guess I'm going to have to pay Google for space to store these until I can upload. So I think there's some way to compress these things and send them in an email, but I don't know. I'm not savvy enough to do that. Be of great cheer. Be of great cheer. All right, Rock Hill.